The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Remember always, that all of us, and you and I especially, are descended from immigrants and revolutionists. I ask you to judge me by the enemies I have made. When you come to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. A nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear. I'm not the smartest fellow in the world, but I can sure pick smart colleagues. The liberty of a democracy is not safe if the people tolerated the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than the democratic state itself. That in its essence is fascism. Ownership of government by an individual, by a group, or any controlling private power. Democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. To reach a port we must set sail, not tie at anchor, sail, not drift. Books cannot be killed by fire. People die, but books never die. No man and no force can abolish memory. In this war, we know, books are weapons. And it is a part of your dedication always to make them weapons for man's freedom. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. Let us move forward with strong and active faith. Happiness is not in the mere possession of money. It lies in the joy of achievement, in the thrill of creative effort. If you treat people right, they will treat you right. 90% of the time. There are many ways of going forward, but only one way of standing still. It is common sense to take a method and try it. If it fails, admit it frankly and try another. But above all, try something. Men are not prisoners of fate, but only prisoners of their own minds. A conservative is a man with two perfectly good legs who, however, has never learned to walk forward. We have always known that heedless self-interest was bad morals. We now know that it is bad economics. Freedom means the supremacy of human rights everywhere. Our support goes to those who struggle to gain those rights and keep them. Our strength is our unity of purpose. To that high concept there can be no end save victory. Repetition does not transform a lie into a truth. In these days of difficulty, we Americans everywhere must and shall choose the path of social justice, the path of faith, the path of hope, and the path of love toward our fellow man. It isn't sufficient just to want. You've got to ask yourself what you are going to do to get the things you want. We had to struggle with the old enemies of peace, business and financial monopoly, speculation, reckless banking, class antagonism, sectionalism, war profiteering. Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hat. Human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough. A war of ideas can no more be won without books than a naval war can be won without ships. Books, like ships, have the toughest armor, the longest cruising range, and mount the most powerful guns. Better the occasional faults of a government that lives in a spirit of charity than the consistent omissions of a government frozen in the ice of its own indifference. Competition has been shown to be useful up to a certain point and no further, but cooperation, which is the thing we must strive for today, begins where competition leaves off. True individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff of which dictatorship are made. Freedom. I think we consider too much the luck of the early bird and not enough the bad luck of the early worm. We cannot always build a future for our youth, but we can always build our youth for the future. In the truest sense, freedom cannot be bestowed, it must be achieved. Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them. Taxes, after all, are dues that we pay for the privileges of membership in an organized society. The only sure bulwark of continuing liberty is a government strong enough to protect the interests of the people, and a people strong enough and well enough informed to maintain its sovereign control over the government. I have an unshaken conviction that democracy can never be undermined if we maintain our library resources and a national intelligence capable of utilizing them. There should be no bitterness or hate where the sole thought is the welfare of the United States of America. No man can occupy the office of president without realizing that he is president of all the people. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. Today we are faced with the preeminent fact that if civilization is to survive, we must cultivate the science of human relationships, the ability of all peoples of all kins to live together and to work together in the same world at peace. First of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless, unreasoning, and justified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. It is the purpose of government to see that not only the legitimate interests of the few are protected but that the welfare and rights of the many are conserved. We and all others who believe in freedom as deeply as we do, would rather die on our feet than live on our knees.